My name is Tiffany Hoot. Today I'm presenting about in-state versus out-of-state institutions. I'm so thankful that you decided to take the time to come and join me today to learn more about just in-state versus out-of-state, some misconceptions, and get more education about possible future choices in your college or university. So what we'll do today is we're going to be talking about well, first off, who is UAB and why in the world am I giving this presentation? We'll talk about admissions processes and how they're different for in-state versus out-of-state. We'll talk about scholarships and financial aid. We'll talk about pros and cons lists, and then we'll go into just some popular questions that a lot of people have about in-state versus out-of-state. I hope you enjoy this session and this presentation, and I know that I always have fun giving them and be able to think of how students are reacting virtually to this presentation. So first, just wanting to go into who is UAB and why in the world am I giving this presentation. So the University of Alabama at Birmingham. So we are located in Birmingham, Alabama. So a lot of people think, oh, your university's in Birmingham. It must be a small rural city, but we're not. We are an urban campus in the middle of downtown. Birmingham in the metro area is about 1.2 million people. And we're a lot like Austin. So we have a lot of live food and theater and music and art and culture. So we have a lot of really fun things that keep students entertained off campus, but also on campus. We have close to 200 different student organizations. And the cool thing is if you have 5 students, 1 faculty sponsor, you can actually create your own club on campus. We do have a lot of generous out-of-state scholarships for Texas students. We love our Texans at UAB and in Birmingham. So we do have scholarships ranging anywhere from $7,500 to $18,000 a year automatically given for students. And we have some full tuition and fee scholarships for Texas students as well. So we do have quite a bit of aid to be able to give students. And the key is just like any other institution, applying early and applying for those funds quick. We also are very proud of our diversity at UAB. So we are recognized as a 2018 Diversity Champion by Insight into Diversity magazine, and we're ranked the #1 youngest university in the world 2 years in a row by Times Higher Education. So UAB is an awesome choice, and a lot of Texans really like us. And me being a current Texan, I love UAB as well. So that's a little bit about the university. So the purpose of this presentation is to go over a couple different factors. In my previous position, I worked for an in-state institution, and now I work for out-of-state institution. So I'm very familiar with students and misconceptions and just ideas of what's the difference and how do you balance the two. So biggest out-of-state misconceptions. Normally for this presentation, we would write this on the dry erase board, but we're doing this virtually. So some big misconceptions is that students will think, one, it's too expensive. We cannot afford an out-of-state institution. And so we'll talk about that more later on, but yes, there is the out-of-state tuition for some of our institutions. Number 2 is that, how are we going to get there? We'll never be able to get to that institution. It's too far. So down at the very bottom it says just too far, miss. But the reality is that sometimes with driving distances, like for example, from here to Birmingham, it's about a 9-hour drive. So if you go 9 hours the other way down I-10, because I'm based in Houston, you're still in Texas. If you go 9 hours east, you're in Birmingham. So it's really, not too far, but also even institutions in other states, maybe are only an 1.5 to 3-hour flights. So really not too far. It's just gives you a little bit of different taste, especially because a lot of us in Texas were like, oh, Texas, yeah. But it kind of gives us a way to leave that Texas bubble for a few years and then always coming back to Texas. Then another big misconception, especially for colleges, is that I'm never getting to college because I'm not in the top 10%. And for those of you who are like, I'm not sure what the top 10%, what do you mean by that? Basically, for all Texas public institutions and some private institutions, if you're in the top 10%, and I say most, but all Texas public institutions, if you're in the top 10%, you're automatically admitted to the university with the exception of the University of Texas at Austin. But for out of state, we do not look at your class rank. typically most of us will get GPA and test score. So that's a huge win for a lot of students. So, definitely we'll talk more about that. But, with a lot of us being located out of state and living in Texas, we do like to go over some misconceptions with out of state institutions. So these are some popular applications for students that you'll be utilizing to apply in the coming years or months as you're applying for college. So number one, I'm sure you're very familiar with, is the Apply Texas application. Apply Texas allows students to apply for any Texas public institution and also some private institutions. So if you go to Apply Texas, it's very different. You're able to upload, like you're sending your essay, you're able to designate, whether you want to use a fee waiver, you can pay your fee through Apply Texas, but also more importantly, that's how you determine in-state residency. So if you've lived for 12 months in Texas, you're able to mark being in-state. There are a lot of other different complex things with that policy, but again, that's how you determine your in-state residency, is through the Apply Texas in the application. Common application, there are close to, I'm sure there's over 300, 400 different institutions, and I think it's much larger now for the common application. What's very cool about the common application is that you can submit your transcript, you can upload test scores, you can upload your application fee waiver, you can do everything electronically through the common application and submit it as one package to the institution. So there are quite a bit of out-of-state institutions and also some in-state institutions on the common application. But that's going to probably be the most popular application that you'll use to apply for out-of-state institutions. So both public and private institutions are on the common application. The coalition application is another popular one. I think right now there are about 70 or 80 different institutions, and there you're going to create what they call a locker. And in the locker, you can submit all the same materials as what the common application, but you can also submit some creative, so some digital media, some art. You can do different TikTok videos or quick videos through the coalition application to, again, just show you your institutions how you think differently and you are different, and it gives them a little different added perspective. So a lot of these institutions, about 80, now UT and A&M, last I checked, we're on the coalition application and they're Apply Texas. So a lot of students think, well, I'll just utilize both to be able to apply to these institutions. But keep in mind, only use one application. If most of your institutions, if you're applying for UT and A&M, are on Apply Texas, then just utilize Apply Texas. If most of your institutions are on the coalition application and you're applying for those institutions, then utilize the coalition application. So utilize only one application, don't utilize two. The Universal Common Application is another one. Each institution has their own different applications as well, but then also other states have their own applications. So the UC system has their own, the University of Florida has their own, and of course, Texas, we have our own too. So each institution, some institution states will have their own application. So all of us will utilize different applications for their universities. You pick the one that's going to be most advantageous for you. So like I said, if you're applying for mostly Texas institutions, use Apply Texas. Majority are out of state, use the common application. Use the one that's going to best benefit you when thinking about applying. So here's some different types of admissions policies to think about. So like I said, for most of us out-of-state institutions, we are not going to utilize your class rank and test score. We're going to do something a little bit different. So automatic and assured. So basically meeting certain criteria, you're able to be automatically admitted to that institution. So some institutions will say, if you meet this class rank and this test score, you're able to be automatically admitted. Some institutions will say, okay, you meet this GPA and this test score, you're going to be automatically admitted. At UAB, starting at a 3.5 in a 20 or 1030, or 3.0 in 24 or 1160, you're going to be automatically admitted and be given a scholarship if you're applying for the fall 2020. So think about those. That's a huge flexibility when applying for different institutions. Some institutions will admit based upon a holistic review. So they'll look at your overall application, so essays and letters of recommendation, grades and transcripts and academic rigor, and consider the whole package when they'll be able to admit students into the institution. Some institutions will have text flexible and text optional. And with the coronavirus, you'll see more and more institutions maybe moving towards this direction. So ask your individual admissions counselor to see if test scores are going to be a factor for that next year's admissions policies. But basically saying that for the admissions purposes, we're not going to utilize test scores for that application this year. So definitely check with your institution and check with your individual admissions counselor. GPA is a big one, especially for out-of-state institutions, and that's going to be like that for most institutions across the country. So the biggest question to ask for GPA: does the university recalculate? Does the university take the GPA off the transcript? Does the university take the weighted GPA, so meaning that the GPA that incorporates AP, pre-AP, dual credit classes? Or do they do an unweighted GPA and they just weigh classes all the same? That's a huge factor. Will institutions look at class rank or maybe quarter percentile ranking, or is your high school non-ranking and so they only rank a certain percentage of the class and everybody else is looked at with GPA? So those are some different factors and different things that are differences between in-state and out-of-state and different institutions. Some students and some institutions will have self-reported grades and test scores. So that's another factor to think about too. So with all of these different policies, it's very important that you give us the most accurate and honest information. Some institutions will say, if you give us the wrong information, we may rescind admissions policies, admissions decisions. So make sure that on these applications, you take things very seriously and you're self-reporting and reporting accurate test scores and accurate grades and accurate GPAs, so that way you won't run into trouble later on down the road. So let's talk about money. That's a big factor, especially now, with the coronavirus and maybe there's some different circumstances may involve with jobs and losing jobs or things changing with income. So a reality with out-of-state institutions is that we want to diversify our incoming class, and we're looking to have individual scholarships. I mean, there's UAB, for example, we want to offer full tuition for some of our Texas students to be able to apply for. So we award, some different scholarships for full tuition for Texas students. We have special out-of-state scholarships for our out-of-state students. So that's another thing to think about. So scholarships are a reality for a lot of out-of-state institutions, and many of us can equal about what you pay to stay in the state of Texas. So we have a scholarship, our Blazer Elite, a 3.5 and a 30 or 1360 this year for fall 2020 seniors would make tuition and fees be cheaper than what a student would pay to stay in the state of Texas, or to stay cheaper than in-state for out of Alabama. So there's definitely scholarships to help offset those costs. In-state residency, that's a huge question that we typically get for students, and it varies by state. So talk to each individual admissions counselor and see what their in-state residency and how does that vary by state, because not all of us can give in-state residency for students. Another popular question for students is, how can I become an in-state residency? And like I said, it varies based upon state. For Alabama, basically mom and dad will need to work in the state of Alabama, and I'm sure there are some other regulations. But it's very hard to get in-state residency for the state of Alabama, but other states it might be very different. So talk to your individual institutions and ask them about in-state residency. But also think about scholarships. Full tuition and fees scholarships are very hard to come by in many institutions. So you want to try to piece together a lot of different scholarships. So talk to your high school, your guidance counselor or college counselor in your high school in the school district. Fastweb.com, big feature with the College Board, university scholarships and websites. If your parents have scholarships for students of their employees, that might be a good place. Raise.me is a good place for scholarships. And check out those different reputable scholarship websites, and they can definitely be able to help you find those scholarships. Like I said, if you want that full tuition scholarships that you're looking for, you do have to do the work, and a lot of times you may have to piece together scholarships to help equal out that tuition and fees. So building a pros versus cons list. A lot of students, they may not think about what are the priorities and what are, different things that they're thinking about. So distance. Think about it. Do you want to be far or near your family? Some students are like, nope, I want to get out of here as fast as possible after I graduate. And some students want to be close to family. Flight distance. Can you catch a quick flight? Are there direct flights from your city? So that might be something to think about as well. Environment. Do you want a large city or you want a small city? Do you want a small campus or a big campus? Is diversity important to you? Is mission statements. So some institutions prioritize being green and being environmentally friendly. If that's important, check out that university and that admissions decision. Cost of living. Cities are not all cities equal when it comes to cost of living. There's a lot of cities that may cost a lot more to live in than others. So think about cost of living. Personalization. Is student to faculty ratio important to you? Do you want smaller class sizes? Do you want mentorships? Do you want research? Do you want internships, co-ops, and opportunities and university connections? If all those things matter, then that's definitely something to think about. And I always ask students, and we all know that money is a consideration, but if money were not an issue, what would your priorities be when exploring college? So we all know that finances and money is going to be a huge factor, but think about other things that are important to you and write those down in your pros and cons list. And typically, this is what I share with students: is think about your top 3 to 5 priorities and put those at the top of this chart. So you list universities that you're thinking about and have priority 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So priority 1, scholarships, or, if you need quite a bit of financial aid. Priority 2 is maybe you're thinking about being a nurse. Does the university have a nurse that you can apply into, or direct entry? Maybe it's that, I want an urban campus. So is the university in a large city? And, put those down and check the boxes. If a university that you're like, oh, this is my number 1 choice, doesn't meet all of your priorities, then that might not be the best fit for you. And so this time, I always tell students to go tour campuses, tour at least your top 3 to 5 universities, and tour on a Monday through a Friday, to where you can actually talk to students and what I like to call seeing students in their natural habitats. So do you feel like you're a good fit? Do you like those students? Do you think that they would be cool to talk to and you could fit in? So go visit a campus on a Monday through Friday when students are actually in session and make decisions based upon that. Have honest conversations with parents, legal guardians, and/or trusted wise adults. It's important for you to be able to weigh out options. It's important for you to have an honest conversation to see how much can your family afford and how much student loans are a reality for you and your future job careers. If you're like, I've always wanted a rural campus, and your parents are like, do you really want a small city? That might be a different thing to question. And then tour, like I said, tour your colleges, tour your top 3 to 5 institutions. It's extremely important for you to be able to see those campuses and see for yourself if they're going to be a good fit for you. So like I said, my name is Tiffany. I know this was a quick presentation, but I'm here to definitely help you throughout the process. If you have any questions about UAB, this is my contact information there. And if you have questions about this presentation, feel free to let me know. But thank you for listening, and again, let me know if you have any questions.